Afipsky refinery in Russia targeted by unknown drones again. Trump presses Erdoğan to hold Russian oil imports, hints at F-35 deal, and how Trump criticizes Putin, saying slow occupation of Ukraine damages Russia's reputation. The latest news next. US President Donald Trump has stated that the slow pace of Russia's occupation of Ukraine, despite large-scale bombardments of Ukrainian cities, is damaging Russia's reputation. He has stressed that the action of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin have led to significant human losses and destruction, but have not brought the end of the war any closer, reported by Trump speaking to journalists at the White House. Trump once again expressed his disappointment with Putin's actions. He believes Russia conducts large-scale strikes on Ukrainian cities and civilian infrastructure, yet its territorial gains remain minimal.
I'm very dissatisfied with what Russia is doing and what President Putin is doing. I haven't liked it at all. He's killing people for no reason whatsoever, and they are doing very poorly considering they have put it all out on the line. Their economy is going to hell.
Trump added that the war launched by the Kremlin is dragging on and has entered its fourth year. Despite the heavy bombing, Moscow has managed to seize very little territory and has even suffered losses.
They're bombing the hell out of everything, and they're picking up very little territory, if any. In fact, they're losing some territory. So I think it's been very bad for the reputation of Russia.
Trump emphasized that this war should have been over. In his view, if it were a US war, he would have ended it in 1 week.
You see what they've taken now. The last month, they've taken very little. And you've been reporting on all the bombing, all the drones all over the place. 900 drones coming into certain areas like Kyiv in one night. And with all of that work, they've taken over very little. So I'm very disappointed in President Putin.
Yes, President Donald Trump wants to pressure Turkey to stop buying Russian oil, using the country's potential return to the F-35 fighter jet program as leverage, informs Bloomberg. At yesterday's meeting at the White House, Trump urged Turkish President Recep Erdoğan to reduce energy purchases from Russia. He stated that he might consider allowing Turkey to rejoin Lockheed Martin Corp's F-35 fighter jet program. Trump also pressured Erdoğan to take a more active role in influencing Moscow to stop the war in Ukraine. Quote, "I will be able to easily, if I want. We may do that," the US leader said regarding the possibility of Turkey rejoining the F-35 program. He emphasized that the decision depends on Ankara's actions. Turkey between the US and Russia. Turkey needs US military and diplomatic support. Investors consider its role in the Western alliance critical for the development of the Middle East's largest economy. Resolving long-standing disputes could strengthen NATO, especially amid rising challenges from Russia and Trump's efforts to reduce tension in the Middle East, where Israel continues its war against Hamas. Trump emphasized that Erdoğan could play a role in persuading Russian dictator Vladimir Putin to end hostilities. In his view, the Turkish leader holds influence in both Moscow and Kyiv. However, he stressed that the most important step is reducing energy purchases from Russia.
I think he could have a big influence if he wants to. Right now, he's very neutral. He likes being neutral. So do I like being neutral, but he's somebody that if he got involved, the best thing he could do is not buy oil and gas from Russia.
Russia main supplier. During a separate Oval Office meeting, journalists asked Trump if Erdoğan had promised to stop buying Russian oil. The president gave a non-committal answer but added that he is confident Erdoğan would agree if asked. Last year, Russia remains Turkey's main energy supplier, accounting for 66% of its oil imports and 41% of gas imports, according to the national regulator. In recent weeks, Ankara has actively diversified its supply, signing deals to purchase US liquefied natural gas. In recent weeks, Ankara has actively diversified its supply, signing deals to purchase US liquefied natural gas. This week, a 20-year contract was signed with trader Mercuria Energy Group Ltd. In the past, during disruptions in Russian oil supplies, Turkey turned to alternative suppliers, including neighboring Iraq. The country is preparing to resume oil exports through the Mediterranean port of Ceyhan on Saturday after a 2-year pause. Previously, we reported that Trump said during the White House meeting that Erdoğan commands respect in both Kiev and Moscow and could help bring peace to Ukraine, but only if Turkey stops buying Russian energy. It's worth noting that Turkey and the US have signed a memorandum of cooperation in nuclear energy. A nighttime drone attack set fire to one of Russia's largest oil refineries, which produces fuel for the Russian military, according to Russian Telegram channels. On the night of September 26, unknown drones attacked the Afipsky oil refinery in Russia's Krasnodar region. The strike caused a fire at one of the facility's processing units.
Debris from a drone fell onto one of the units. There are no casualties. A fire broke out over an area of 30 square meters, which has already been extinguished.
The Russian Ministry of Defense reported having destroyed 55 drones over Russian regions. The Afipsky refinery specializes in producing gasoline and diesel fuel and is heavily involved in supplying fuel to Russian military forces. The refinery's annual oil processing capacity is about 6.25 million tons, making it one of the key fuel hubs from the Russian army. This is not the first time the Afipsky refinery has been targeted by drones. The last strike occurred on the night of August 28, which also caused a fire. It had previously been attacked on August 7th. On February 10, 2025, the Afipsky refinery was targeted by Ukrainian drones. At the time, Andrei Kovalenko, head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, said that the refinery is one of Russia's key facilities, playing a strategic role in fueling military equipment, especially in the southern regions. Earlier, RBC Ukraine reported that Ukraine resumed strikes on Russian refineries and oil pipelines in the summer of 2025 after Russia violated an unannounced moratorium on mutual attacks on energy infrastructure. According to Reuters, estimates these strikes have disabled facilities accounting for at least 17% of Russia's oil refining capacity, or 1.1 million barrels per day. Europe cannot end the war in Ukraine on its own. The United States and NATO must share responsibility, according to European Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas. She notes that the position of US President Donald Trump is of particular importance. He was the one who promised to stop the killing, Kallas says. Her words came amid an unexpected change in Trump's rhetoric on the war between Russia and Ukraine. Trump's statements and Europe's reaction. This week, Trump said he believes Ukraine is capable of fighting and returning all its territories to their regional form. He added that this is possible with the support of Europe and NATO, which can do whatever they want with American weapons. Although many European politicians welcomed the more positive statements, some experts cautioned that Trump may be planning to reduce U.S. involvement and shift responsibility to allies.
There is no NATO without the U.S. America is the greatest ally in NATO. So if you talk about what NATO should do, that also means what America should do.
Energy and sanctions. Trump had previously insisted that NATO countries completely stop importing Russian oil and gas. He linked this to further measures by Washington on tariffs and sanctions.
Trump has been right. We have decreased our oil and gas purchases by 80%, which means that if everybody did what we do, there could be a bigger effect. We have done 19 packages of sanctions. If allies would mirror them, the war would be over sooner.
She adds that the US should use its influence on Hungary and Slovakia, the largest importers of Russian energy in Europe. Kallas welcomes Trump's recent conversation with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Negotiations with Moscow and threats in Europe. American diplomats have stated that sanctions could complicate negotiations with Russia. However, according to Kallas, Moscow is not approaching them in good faith.
I understand what the Americans are saying. They don't want to put pressure on Russia so as not to close channels of communication. But all these gestures of goodwill only lead to escalation. Putin is taking advantage of this.
Meanwhile, Europe is concerned about new incidents in its airspace. Russian drones and aircraft have violated borders, and unidentified drones have been spotted over airports in Denmark. Putin is testing us, checking how far he can go. He wants to see our reaction, Kallas said. Reparations from Russia. Kallas also called for frozen Russian assets to be used to help Ukraine. This issue will be discussed by G7 finance ministers on October 1st.
I understand what the Americans are saying, that they can't put pressure on Russia because that would close the communication channels that they have with Russia, and they are the only ones mediating this.
Trump said that Ukraine could regain all its occupied territories with the support of the Europe and then go even further. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said that Trump's statement about Ukraine liberating the occupied territories may indicate his intention to shift the responsibility for ending the war to the Europe. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.